Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video. Now, as you can clearly see, I'm downstairs. Yeah, because we have Bold and Brash right here. More like belongs in the trash. This year, a SpongeBob reference of the video, but we're not going to talk about that. You might have also noticed that I have shaved. Yay! Uh, Felix is just looking at me while I have my iPad here on the table. So, we're gonna go over something that we haven't touched since mid-late September of this year, and that is the current makeup of our federal government. But before we do, there are quite a few changes that we do need to talk about. So, we are going to start over in the legislative section, which is, Congress. So, we are currently in the 118th Congress. We're still in the first session, meaning that up until December 31st, that will be when up until January 2nd of next year is technically the end of this current session. And then the second session will begin on January 3rd. So we're going to start over on the Senate side. As of the 3rd of October of 2023, we have currently 49 Republicans, 48 Democrats, 3 independents, and no vacancies. Okay. Now, as you also know, the Democrats, along with the independents, currently control Congress because the 3 independents kind of clause along with the Democrats. So in a way, it's kind of actually 51 to 49, but you get the point. Combined, the Democrats have the majority in the Senate. Obviously, with the president of the Senate, with it being the vice president, who is, obviously Kamala Harris, who was a former senator of California. The president pro tempore is Patty Murray of Washington, who is a Democrat, who, by the way, is the first woman to hold that position. And they are fourth in line to the presidency. So if the vice president, Speaker of the House, technically if the president, vice president, and the Speaker of the House are somehow out of office, then the president pro tempore of the Senate becomes president. The current majority leader is Senator Chuck Schumer of New York, who, obviously Democrat. And the current minority leader is Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, obviously Republican. The House of Representatives. This is where the vast majority of all the changes occurred. So let's just go over the current makeup. Now there was a special election that took place in Rhode Island for their first congressional district, in which a winner has been named. I did not write down what the name of the guy is, but he is a Democrat, but he has yet to take his seat. So I just want to throw that out there, if something sounds a little off to you. So, including the new Democrat about to take a seat in Rhode Island, we have 221 Republicans, 213 Democrats, and 1 vacancy. The 1 vacancy is Utah's 2nd, which a special election is scheduled later in the month on the 21st of November. So it's like 2 weeks or so. Okay, Now, as we always go through the the leaders of the House, but before we get to that, we have to talk about the very chaotic 17 days of the House without a speaker. Because, well, as you all know, on October 3rd, which, haha, Mean Girls Day, haha, there's your Mean Girls reference of the video, the House decided to, for the first time ever, vote to remove the Speaker of the House, which was Kevin McCarthy of California, a Republican. And there were 4 total votes to be House Speaker. Yeah, let's just say that they named, the Republicans named quite a few number of people. First, it became the second powerful Republican in the House, which is the current majority leader, Steve Scalise of Louisiana. However, he did not secure the complete... He got the overall nomination, like he got the most, but then he decided to drop out. Which then, the next person that got the majority of the conference is, ironically, my own congressman, Jim Jordan of Ohio. Yeah, woo! And he actually endured 3 rounds of votes on the House floor. On the first ballot, he got 200, which is the most that he's ever had when going for the Speaker of the House. On the second ballot, he got 199. And for the third, he got 194. So, yeah, after that, the Republican conference decided, you know what, we're done with Jordan, so we're going to move on to someone new. And so they decided to pick the current majority whip, who is Tom Emmer of Minnesota. But he didn't get he technically stepped down as the party's nominee hours after he was chosen, so then they were pretty much back to the drawing board. And also after they dropped Jordan to up until they picked their final nominee, they were also throwing around an idea of a bipartisan candidate. They were even saying maybe giving the Speaker pro tempore, which was Patrick McHenry of North Carolina, more power so they can get stuff passed in the House, just to keep things moving while they figure this out. But eventually, they picked a congressman from Louisiana, Mike Johnson of Louisiana 4. And they went to the floor. And the votes are as follows. There were a total of 429 votes cast, in which Mike Johnson of Louisiana got 220. Oh, by the way, 215 was the magic number needed, which obviously he got 5 more. Democrats, obviously, they picked their man, Hakeem Jeffries of New York, who in ballot number 4 got 209, with 4 members absent and 2 vacancies. So that means that Mike Johnson of Louisiana is, well, he's now Speaker of the House, who is, obviously Republican. Sorry, that kind of went on a little while, but this was like the big major thing I wanted to discuss in this video. Current majority leader is Steve Scalise of Louisiana, obviously Republican. Current minority leader is Hakeem Jeffries of New York, Democrat. And like how I mentioned before, there is 1 vacant seat which goes to Utah's 2nd, and that special election is scheduled for the 21st of November. So now we jump over to the executive branch, in which we're just going to go right down the line of succession, and you know how we do it. President of the United States is still Biden. I don't think we need to dive into that one. Vice President of the United States is still Kamala Harris. By the way, still first female vice president that we ever had. Both Biden and Kamala took office on the 20th of January of 2021. Obviously. Speaker of the House, like how we just mentioned, we have Mike Johnson, a Republican, who is the only Republican currently in the line of succession. He officially took office on the 25th of October, 2023. Everything else from here on out is pretty much the same. Nothing really truly changed. President pro tempore is still Patty Murray. She's been in office since the 3rd of January. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken. Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen. Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin III, who is, technically he's kind of a Democrat, but he's technically labeled as a independent. It's complicated, it's weird. The Attorney General, who is in charge of the Department of Justice. Is Merrick Garland. Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland. Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo. Secretary of Labor, it's still Julie Su, but she's still acting. Yeah, Biden has yet to make a move of whether or not to officially confirm her as Secretary of Labor. Although it would be kind of awkward if he did now, since the election is like literally next year, and that's a whole nother can of worms that we're not going to get into. Health and Human Services, Xavier Barraca. Housing and Urban Development, Marcia Fudge. Transportation, Pete Buttigieg. Energy, Jennifer Granholm. Education, Miguel Cardona. Veterans Affairs, Dennis McDough. And Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas. And, just for fun, Chief Justice of Supreme Court is still John Roberts. And speaking of the Chief Justice, we're going to jump over to the Supreme Court. Now, like how I mentioned, John Roberts is still the Chief Justice. He was appointed by George W. with a vote of 78 to 22, and his term started on September 29th of 2005. Clarence Thomas, appointed by George H.W. Bush. The vote was 52-48, and he started his term on the 23rd of October of 1991. Next up, we have Samuel Alito, appointed by George W. with a vote of 58-42, and he started his term on the 31st of January of 2006. Next up, we have Sonia Sotomayor, appointed by Obama, with a vote of 68-31, and she began her term on August 8th of 2009. Elena Kagan, appointed by Obama, with a vote of 63-37. She started her term on the 7th of August of 2010. Neil Gorsuch, appointed by Trump, with a vote of 54-45. And his term started on the 10th of April of 2017. Brett Kavanaugh, appointed by Trump, with a vote of 50-48. His term started on the 8th of October of 2018. Amy Coney Barrett, appointed by Trump, with a vote of 52-48. Her term started on the 27th of October of 2020. And once again, the most recent Supreme Court Justice, Ketanji Brown Jackson, appointed by Biden with a vote of 53-47. And she started her term on the 30th of June, 2022. So that's pretty much everything that I have to at least explain and go over. I will attempt to try to do this at least once a month. I know I may have said that we're going to do it once every 3 months or every other month, or I don't remember what I said in that video of like this in September, but I'm going to attempt to try to deliver you guys updates on the federal government at least once a month, just so that way I can, keep everything fresh and make sure to update you guys, because it's been a while since I've done anything political other than what's going on with the presidential candidates, which we did in a video Monday, I think. Yeah. I don't remember. It's been a long day. Alright, thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow with our regularly scheduled episode. Just whatever. And stay tuned on Monday for our monthly Q&A video. We'll see you then.